Welcome to the Authority File, the podcast where you'll hear conversations with academic librarians, technologists, researchers, and authors whose work is laying the foundation for higher education's future. I'm Bill Mickey, your host and the editorial director at Choice. If you're new to the Authority File, you can listen to and find previous episodes on all of the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and on our website, choice360.org. One of the more exciting aspects of academic librarianship is the constant stream of innovation that's happening in campus libraries across the country. From big solutions to small, librarians are especially adept at finding new ways to serve their communities, make their own jobs more efficient, or advance the profession into new realms. In this 4-part series, which is provided with support from Sage Publishing, I'm excited to speak with 3 librarians who have each developed their own projects. We'll devote an episode to each of them, and Martha Sedgwick, Vice President of Innovation at Sage, will be on hand to provide further perspective on the innovation happening across the market. In the 4th episode, we'll all come together and hear specific takeaways from each of our guests that they learned while working on their projects. Along with Martha, my guests include Jamia Williams, Health Sciences Librarian at SUNY Brockport and co-host of the Lib Voices podcast, Lauren Pouzier, User Experience Librarian at University at Albany, who helped develop the library's System Status Discovery tool, and Darryl Sturr, Director of Digitization and Digital Preservation Services at Baylor University, who was instrumental in building the Black Gospel Music Preservation Project from the ground up. In this final episode of our series, I'm joined by all 4 of my guests who share their hard-won wisdom on the most important factors for making these kinds of projects successful. All right, so in this episode, we're going to kind of bring it all together. We're going to feature all of our guests from the previous 3 episodes, and everyone here has developed some really fantastic projects that have clear benefits for the library and the community it serves. Wondering if each of you could share some key takeaways and/or lessons that you learned from your experiences working on your projects. And Jamia, why don't we start with you on this one?
So, one of the takeaways that hopefully people can glean is to be gracious with yourself, especially if this is something new for
Mm,
you. There will be some bumps. Even if you've done this before, there will still be bumps. And to be okay with the timeline moving on certain episodes, or even with your marketing materials, or even if a host has to change. You know, um, Now we just have 2 hosts out of the 3 that started. So that has changed, that has created a shift in our responsibilities. So just being able to give yourself that grace, and also have that, be able to be flexible, I would say, would help you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that you're talking about your Lib Voices podcast, and it sounds like that's good advice really for anybody on any project. But Lauren, it's just jumping to you. What would some of the takeaways from your experience be?
I think our key takeaways are definitely consider working with those folks that maybe you haven't partnered with before. Just me linking up with someone in tech services was really eye opening,
Hmm.
and it was fun to see how their work process works and how it complements our the public services side. And it was a great partnership, and I'm looking forward to doing more projects with that department.
Excellent, Darryl. I imagine you could agree with that wholeheartedly. But what are some of the lessons you learned?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we did do right, which when we were coming up with the proposal, we were considering just going it alone, learning how to
Mm,
do it on our own. And so I think just hiring the right people, if you can, with a project as complex as this one. I think if we had tried to do the research and go it alone, it probably would have been a mistake. Even though Tony was fresh out of college, he had already possessed some of the great experience to help launch a project like this.
yeah, yeah. It sounds like you also sort of leverage relationships as well with folks outside of the university or adjacent to the university, and don't hesitate to do that, I guess, would be another lesson
Right.
as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, good. And I'll stick with you, Darryl. Your project stands out here due to its scope and the infrastructure needed to support it. I'm wondering, if you could explain some more, some of the factors that kind of made all of that work. There was some serendipity there, but what can other libraries learn from your experience in building a group like this?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of it definitely was right place, right time, right people.
Yeah.
It's definitely the biggest factor. But major buy-in from library administration. This was a project that started with external funds and supported by our department for, gosh, 3, 4 years maybe.
Mm,
But was quickly supported by the library when the funding ran out. We didn't have to lay anybody off. We just picked up salaries to help carry the metadata librarian as well as the audio digitization specialist.
yeah.
We were also funded 2 years by the College of Arts and Sciences. We had established a relationship with them through Robert Darden, since that's his school, and they wanted to be able to support the project as well. Also, getting the word out and just bringing in others to participate paid off. Bringing in arts and sciences, it was great to bring them in and work collaboratively with them. Also, our library marketing person, Eric Ames, used to work in our group and is now working for marketing in the library. But he runs a Voices and Vinyl concert every year, where the Heavenly Voices, which is a student gospel choir, will perform music from or music inspired from pieces from the digital collections. And I believe they had their fifth annual concert this year. So yeah,
Oh, that's great.
yeah.
I'm a little curious, and to the extent that you can describe this. So you're the dean that came on board early in the sort of development of the project. Was sounds like was instrumental in pulling in the IT team. I'm not sure how close you were to that whole situation, but I mean, if you any insight there that you could provide might be interesting to hear in terms of how that actually happened and how your dean was able to make that happen.
Right. A lot of that, don't have a lot of access to some of that information, but um, it was unique, and it was something bringing in somebody with a information systems background, actually out
Mm,
of the business school, a non-librarian, was
mm,
very jarring to the library, of course.
hmm.
And so when he came in, it was a bit of a rough transition. But I think over the long haul, I believe that the library really benefited from having this expertise inside of the library as opposed to outside that we would have to call on. I don't think that this project would have gotten off of the ground as well and has would have been as successful if we didn't have academic technology already over here
Yeah,
prior to getting the request to launch a project of this scope.
yeah. Can you talk about what made that bumpy at first? Just is it a cultural thing, or
It
in
was
terms of work culture?
cultural. It was some probably personality conflicts
Oh, okay,
as well, and the fact that somebody coming from the information systems business school was not a library, was not a librarian, was not a library dean.
right, right.
Yeah,
So there were some sympathies that didn't go both ways
that's
for
absolutely
between
correct.
each of those. Yeah, I got it. Great. And so, Jamia and Lauren, what advice can you impart to our listeners about finding the time and space? Because these are projects, obviously, that weren't inherently necessarily part of your day jobs. Finding the time and space for developing these kinds of ideas.
Daryl alluded to this earlier about having a good team,
Hmm.
and that is what helps. Having a good team that knows what their strengths and what their areas of opportunity or growth are, and working with that and making sure everyone knows what their role is, and also communicating if for some reason you need to switch a duty or switch, something that you're responsible for, to let others know.
Mhm.
So that is one of the ways we've been successful. And also, making it clear and having those conversations on, responsibilities and things like that, and having a plan definitely
Yeah.
has helped us.
Yeah. Excellent. How about you, Lauren?
I do echo that. And when you have more than one person working on a project, if you find that you're really overwhelmed with regular work and you put the project on the back burner, sometimes just having one other person in partnership can keep that moving along.
Right.
So I do recommend that, and take advantage of other colleagues.
Hmm.
I noted in my podcast we had a committee that we were able to tap into to help us get some of the legwork of the project going. So look around your library and see what groups are already able to help pitch in and support you.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Just to follow up with you, Jamia, because Lib Voices is an independent project for you, many of us are going home at the end of the day and binging on Netflix because we don't want to deal with, we want to forget about our work, but
Yeah.
you're actually sometimes doing more, to produce your podcast. And, do you, any advice you have on preventing burnout or, becoming overworked? And
Oh, well, I just discovered, fun fact, recently, that I'm burnt out.
yeah, many of us are.
I'm experiencing burnout. And I thought I was keeping ahead of it, being clear with no, saying no, keeping boundaries and all that. And through career coaching, I was told, you are
Mm.
experiencing burnout. So I'm recovering from burnout right now. So my advice to people is, say no, keep your boundaries,
Yeah.
and, not do too much, and also let things go, and being okay with that. I know I want to try to do everything and accomplish everything, but it's like, I can do that at a later date. It is okay.
Yeah.
So with the podcast, me breaking up the work has helped. So even now that I'm experiencing burnout, I can do bit by bit. Like, I just
Right.
set a half an hour or hour aside, every other day to do certain things, and just doing that, because if I have to do a whole lot of things all at once, then I get overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I just don't,
Yeah.
and then it's all in my head, and I won't get anything done because I talked myself out of not doing what I need to do. So breaking up
Exactly.
the work helps.
Yeah. That's great. Um, Darryl, I'll start with you on this, but you talked a little bit about. I'm wondering how success builds on success. So, clearly your group has got this amazing studio now. You're able to do so many new things. So, how are you kind of, keeping that forward motion going and taking one success and building that into another?
Yeah, and you state that well. That's really what it is. It's just we've just had more success because the previous projects have been successful.
Hmm.
With the creation of the calling it new, but we opened up in 2008. But the move from the 400 square feet to the 5,000 square feet has been great. So recently we've had about 2,500 discs donated to the project. We're also working with that third collector that I mentioned, and we would like to take his full archive in. And so what we did was we reached out to marketing, and they helped write a grant for us recently, and received a $50,000 grant to what started as a storage closet that we wanted to turn into a place to store these discs and these 2,500 discs that we've accumulated throughout the years. And just talking about that and brainstorming, and with the amount of support that we've had with the administration, we got to think bigger. And instead of about 200 square feet, we ended up with 600 square feet. the space that holds the donated material. So we've got 2,500 discs on these shelves, but we have expansion shelves for 20,000 discs. So we can take a few donors, a few collectors' donations into this space, well into the future. But the space is also set up to be research and engagement, place to listen to the music. We have a private listening booth set up inside of that space with a musical keyboard that folks can actually play along with the music inside of that private booth. And so that's one of the more recent things we've been able to do because of the success and the support of the project. Additionally, I was able to hire 2 new staff members. I've been asking for staff members for years, and I'll tell you, we have been so creative about how we've been able to pay for temporary employment. I think we went about 8 years with temporary employees and just paying them. And that's how Arts and Sciences actually contributed. They gave money for temporary employment, but I've been able to hire two additional staff members. Of course, this was 3 deans later. It took 3 deans later to get two additional staff members. But right now, I feel like we have enough people to handle a workload that we've actually been carrying for about 10 years.
Wow.
So,
excellent.
and then maybe just to mention on top of that is that it's that kind of success on the project that led to us talking with the Smithsonian to be able to contribute to their exhibit. And now Professor Darden, actually, he has a show on NPR called Shout, Black Gospel Music Moments. And so he pulls materials from our collection and we'll talk about them and present them on NPR. So yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Good.
just.
I love these stories.
If I could add one other thing, I will comment though. We were approached, and this is to Jamia. We were approached to do a podcast. Now, I love podcasts, and everybody in our group loves them. And the idea of doing a podcast off of this project is phenomenal. But the one thing that we discovered very, very early on was we can't do it. We could not get. There was no way we could find the amount of hours necessary to produce a podcast. So kudos to you to be able to do it, and would definitely understand your burnout. So that was one of the instances where we said, great idea, but we can't do it right now. So
yeah, to Jamia's point, no one to say no, I guess. Yeah. Lauren, what about opportunities for you? I mean, you mentioned sort of the awesomeness that came out of your partnership with Discovery Services, and what else have you kind of grown from there?
It has certainly grown. I took on this project not expecting. It was just a project task at work, right? Didn't think anything of it.
Right.
We did it, implemented it, and then my partner Rebecca received an email from Buffalo. Someone at Buffalo was noticed. They noticed it on our website just randomly and said, "This is cool. Like,
Yeah.
I really like this." It was just like a little complimentary email. And she mentioned it casually to me. And I was like, well, that's amazing that people are seeing this thing. Cause we did the project and that was it. It was running on its own. So she suggested this conference, this ER&L conference. I don't know. I'm a reference librarian. I have no idea what that is.
Right.
She's like, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So another opportunity for me. I now kind of joined this awesome group, this ERL group, and we pitched a presentation and got to present there. Expanding the conversation. Had some emails from that presentation. An opportunity came up when the Innovators Award came out, information about that. I remember sitting on my bed, 10 o'clock at night. I am sitting next to my 5-week-old infant, and I am writing up an application for this award on our innovation. And it was something, I never saw coming. I was just taking a chance. We were kind of, why not? We'll put our thing out there. And we ended up winning top prize. It was amazing. It was so cool. Everything has been so unexpected. And now here I am talking with you fine folks about all these awesome projects. And I'm thrilled to be here, all because of this one innovation at work.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. And then Jamia, what about you? I imagine just if I were to just kind of riff one off, it would be just being able to talk to amazing people all the time. I mean,
Yes, that's definitely one of the fun things, like people that I've been admiring for
yeah.
years, having a conversation with them and just allowing them the space to tell their stories. That's definitely been amazing. Also, being able to interview on a podcast like this,
Hmm.
and we had the opportunity to do another one. We've been A reporter has reached out to us in regards to getting information about us. We will be featured in someone's upcoming book. Also, we had the opportunity to be panelists when there's conversations around how do we center BIPOC folks that work in archives and libraries. So a lot of great opportunities have came from us being co-hosts and co-creators of Lip Voices.
Excellent. Fantastic. So Martha, from your perspective, what do these kinds of ideas and projects signal about the evolution of the academic library? I'm kind of hitting you up for sort of your broader market perspective, and how can companies like Sage provide support and guidance to ideas like this and innovation in general?
Mm. Yeah, and I guess just first off, I just want to say what a privilege actually it's been, like sitting alongside you all on this series, to be sort of, informed, reminded of some of the terrific work you're doing to drive innovation, to grow librarian voices and library impact. And it's inspiring, and it's I'm excited about hearing all the feedback we get when this goes out. But I think there's an interesting trend we're seeing within libraries, and we can see across these stories around extending impact beyond buildings, collections, traditional services towards sort of new digital services that that improve online research, increase online learning experiences, and really extend access and library voices. And at Sage, one of the things we've been looking at to respond to this trend is we've built a new division called Technology from Sage that we're investing in to deliver library services that use technology in new ways. We're building this sort of as a portfolio of smaller businesses that we bring into Sage. So a sort of community approach is what we want to build. So today we have Lean Library, Tallis, and Cortex from Adam Matthew. But this portfolio approach, I think, is sort of quite unique and really one that we want to build to enable creative talent across these businesses, rather than just sort of adding a Sage logo, swallowing up or diluting the sort of entrepreneurial verve of the people in these organizations. We want to sort of invest in them and bring them together to learn and share. And I think we can do this partly because of our independence, which you may have heard. Sort of recently, we've been guaranteed by our founder that when she's passed control of the company onto an independent trust, and because we won't ever have to answer to shareholders, I think we can feel confident that we can focus on building relationships with talented individuals, thinking about impact for the long term. And I think it's both nurturing that ecosystem of choice as well as really deepening relationships with the library community, who, as we've heard, in this series of the real experts in the challenges facing students and researchers, going about their research. I think sort of bringing those things together means that we at Sage can work with you all on having a stronger impact on learning and research in higher ed. And that's what we're all about.
Excellent. Okay, well, Jamia, Lauren, Martha, and Darryl, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for
having us.
Thank you.
You just heard from Jamia Williams, Health Sciences Librarian at SUNY Brockport, Lauren Pouzier, User Experience Librarian at University at Albany, Darryl Sturr, Director of Digitization and Digital Preservation Services at Baylor University, and Martha Sedgwick, Vice President of Innovation at Sage. This 4-part series is brought to you with support from Sage Publishing. As always, sponsorship and advertising for the Authority File podcast are handled by Choice's advertising manager, Pam Marino, and all of our episodes are produced and edited by Choice's digital media producer, Sabrina Kofer. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.